Hello, my friends, and welcome to another episode of My LinkedIn Friends. Today, I am joined by my guest, Matt Rosenthal of Mindcore Technologies. Matt, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here. It's awesome speaking with you.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time today to talk to us and tell us all about you, your company, your background, and what's been going on with you. So I'm going to throw it right to you. So Matt, tell us a little bit about yourself, your background.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. My background is, I think, similar to a lot of other entrepreneurs and people who have who've built something from nothing. There's that story that we hear all the time. There's people that you probably follow, that I follow, like some of the big players, like Grant Cardone and Ed Milet. Those guys, we hear that we all can relate to the same story, and I kind of took that same path. So if you look at me and say, who am I? I am a guy that we can work backwards and look at who I am today and look at where we've gotten, and certainly there's more to go. But I'm a guy who grew up very poor. When I was 12, my father had passed away, relatively suddenly over a few months. It was kind of like, hey, this is what's happening, and that was that. And so, you add to that I grew up in a fairly dysfunctional household after that. I find that tends to be, the recipe for potentially creating a really successful business person. So I did have that childhood where if I wanted something, I needed to make it happen. Nobody was giving me anything, and so I learned really, really early on that I needed to make something happen if I wanted something to happen, and that could mean anything. It was like in any way. If I wanted to go to the movies when I was 13 years old, I had to go find a way to make money to be able to pay for the movies because we're living off of Social Security. Right? So it's common. I think everybody has their own sort of version of that story, but it did shape where I am today and how I got here and how I was able to do it. Words like grit and discipline and dedication and just focus. Like these are like, I can say them now, but at 12, 13, 14 years old, teenager, you don't even know like the words exist.
No.
You kind of forge, and just kind of do what feels right.
Yeah. So instinct kind of takes over at that point.
Yeah, it's totally instinct, and so just growing up in a way that anything that I wanted, I had to find a way to get it, like I said, perseverance and grit. I'll tell you the thing that relates to today that I learned back then is you have to work harder than everybody else. So that's also, a big part of my background, and right. who I am. I was never the smartest person in the room, admittedly, although I felt like it sometimes. I worked harder than everybody else. And I didn't know that was so important in life, but in Mindcore today, that's how Mindcore became Mindcore. And we'll talk about that, but it's that story that so many successful entrepreneurs share. And look, there's entrepreneurs that make it, that went to Wharton,
right,
and grew up in the Hamptons, but that wasn't my background, and so I kind of like to say that, even though I do have book smarts, it was the street smarts and that tough early part of my life that went into my 20s that actually made it possible for me to be in Mindcore and be what I am today, which is a coach to all of my employees, a mentor to a lot of other people, and to have had all the failures along the way. I do have a formal education. I have a bachelor's degree in criminal justice. I wanted to be a police officer. That didn't happen, obviously. I have an MBA, which I got in my 30s. And so I have all that. I didn't take a traditional path. I took a very, very roundabout path because when you grow up the way that I said, you can imagine, you don't have that typical, like, okay, go to high school, go to college for 4 years. It took me 10 years to graduate from my undergraduate degree. I worked 14 hours a day at one point driving a truck.
Yeah.
So that's a sort of brief glimpse into my early life and my background. But yeah, I worked for once I got into IT in my late 20s, I worked for a $2 billion company. I rose from knowing nothing to being the IT director, overseeing 8 different business units in New York City and 35 or 40 employees. Like I did all that corporate stuff. The most valuable thing along the way, and I think put the cork back in my background after that. The most valuable thing along the way for me with that background piece was working for the $5 to $10 million companies that had 15 employees, where I was an executive. And that is where I really learned how to take the corporate stuff and that
Right.
all of it, the education, the life experience. That smaller company was where I really learned the valuable skills about interpersonal communications and relationship management, and relationship maintenance and building, and just really connecting with people, and delivering like real value and service, and doing it for the right reasons, and connecting with people that want your type of service delivery. Like, I learned all that working for a small company as an executive.
Mm-hmm.
So I tried to just give you the 5-minute version of 12 years old to now. But it's been a ride, and I feel like I'm just getting started, believe it or not. I feel like at 47, going on 48 in a few months, I'm ready now to actually go 10 levels higher. It took me this long to get to that point, you know?
Right. Right. And I could totally identify with everything that you're saying. So I know the feeling, it's I'm 46, and I'm starting a new adventure in my life as well. And I feel like everything that I have been through over the last 20 plus years has really gotten me ready for this point. And I feel more energized than ever to go down this new path and this new journey that I've chosen. So I definitely identify with everything that you're saying.
That's a cool feeling too.
What'd you say?
It's a cool feeling. Like, it's a great
Yeah,
feeling.
no, it's the
like,
best
okay,
feeling. Yeah.
I'm 40 something, and well, now I get it.
Yeah, well, you got it's there's no substitution for experience, right? I mean, I honestly feel like no matter how much money you have in the world, it doesn't buy you the experience that you need to get to places that you want to get to in life. And what did the 23-year-old me know about being 46? I mean, it's impossible unless you can develop, I guess, a time machine and take a look at yourself in the future. But even then, we make our own future, so even that's not a positive, and that's not written in stone. So
do you want to go back to be 23? Like, no,
not
it's
really.
Funny, because to be in your 20s now, we didn't have information at our fingertips. We had a phone booth, and you make a collect phone calls when it gets picked up from the movies.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So
you didn't have that.
So, like, to be resourceful and to have experienced your 20s and 30s, for you and I guess in the 80s and 90s into the early 2000s, it was such a different time, and we lived in a different way. But when you mentioned money, it's probably safe to say, knowing your background a little bit too, that we've both achieved a certain level of success that it's impressive. But when you get to this point financially, I mean, I can speak for myself. I can tell you that has almost no meaning anymore, even though that it was a driving force along the way for the past 25 years, especially going back to being that kid that grew up very poor. The money mattered. I can tell you now, it's easy to say it when you have it, and you're comfortable, but it actually doesn't do anything. When you get past the material nonsense and you get past having a car or a nice house or eating wherever you want, the only thing that, in my opinion, that really, really matters is love, joy, happiness, and connection with other human beings, and your family. And it doesn't matter how much money you have. It is a good driver, but it doesn't bring you an ounce of happiness, in my opinion. It brings you momentary satisfaction.
All it does is it makes things in life that you want to go buy or go do, in that sense of the material things, you have access to that, but it certainly does not buy the things that you described: happiness, meaningful relationships, love, joy. I mean, it doesn't. It really doesn't. And it's a temporary high with the money when you go and you could do things and buy things, but it's not long lasting. So it's about true happiness, and waking up in the morning and feeling that feeling in your stomach, and you're like, yes, it's here I am. I'm up. I'm doing this. I'm living my life on my own terms, and I'm doing what I want to do. What makes me happy. So those are, to me, the most important aspects of life.
Chris, when I was, I think it was about 5 or 6 years ago, I was I was actually in the back of my house, laying at the pool with my wife, and I got it in my head that I wanted a certain type of sports car, and
Hmm.
it was just because I was a kid from the apartments who had nothing. And I'm
Right.
like, I felt like if I got this car, I've never even driven one, this particular car. I'm like, it must be great. It's so I got to get this car, and I got it in my head, and I went online and I searched, and I found one, and the car was in Maryland, and they shipped it up to me, and I went on Route 23 in Wayne. They pulled up to a big Target parking lot, and the car truck, and they just took the car off the truck, and I got in it, and it was the most surreal, out of body feeling to be in this particular car.
Hmm.
And it felt awesome for a little while, and then after a little while, I was like, wow, that doesn't really matter anymore. It's like, no,
Right.
okay. I sold it after a while because I'm like, that doesn't. I learned a big lesson in life. It doesn't matter. It has zero meaning that I had that car, and I realized I had to do it to get it to realize it didn't matter. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's true for a lot of people. Is like
Yeah.
you think you want things, and when you actually finally have it, you realize, you know what, I really didn't need this. But and once again, it's experience, and it's something you have to go through, because it's
Right.
hard to describe that to people. Um, and it's a true experience you just have to live through and get to, and then to be able to make that realization, and that honesty with yourself of like, you know what, this isn't true happiness. It brought me momentary happiness, but it's not true long lasting.
I'll say this. I'll say this, and I won't go any deeper because I don't want your show to be heavy. What that car does for you, what it did for me, what I thought it would do for me, a car can't do that for you. What you really want, what that feeling you want that you thought the car was going to give you, the car can't give you. It has to come from
Right.
inside your heart.
That's it. Well said.
Yeah.
I have no comment on that, because it's actually you've said that perfect. It's completely well said. So, well, thank you for sharing all that. That was really great, and it's awesome to
Cool.
hear about your background. And we definitely have some very, very, very similar parallel stories and feelings and thoughts on things. I do want to hear a bit about your company, though. So let's transition into that. So tell everybody
Sure.
about Mindcore Technologies, and
Absolutely.
what is it?
Yep. So we've evolved over the years. As I said before, I've been in IT since the late 90s, but
Mhm.
I went into business probably around 2004, 5, or 6, something like that. And so the company evolved. To tell you quickly, it evolved from me working in my basement in my house, just
Right.
me. People asking me to help them with IT stuff. Like everybody asks, if you
Right.
know an IT guy, you always ask for help. So it was never intended to be a business. It turned into one, and I discovered I was an entrepreneur, and I felt like, wow, this is it. I can help people and feel good about it, and impact their lives. So over time, it evolved into a real business. I ended up having 4 or 5 employees, and we ended up doing very traditional IT services. Break fix, call us if you need us, and
Right.
then cloud came along, and I was way ahead of my time with cloud. This is 8, 9 years ago. We built a cloud in a data center, which we still have to this day, which clients still work on. But then again, to the point of pivoting, I had to see where things were going, and I had to pivot to, hey, what's coming down the road next? And it was something called managed services. And in our business, that's all that sort of proactive, helping people with issues and trying to kind of predict what the issues are going to be. It's a very proactive model. So we pivoted to that, and then they kind of mushed together, and it became that cloud and managed services really became the norm, and they became the commoditized way of business. So I had to pivot again, and I pivoted to what was the most real feeling, authentic thing for me, which is who we are today. And that is we're a technology service provider, and there is an acronym. It's called the TSP. We do have a blog about it, and I have some videos about it, where I talk about what it means to me, but I don't want to be put in a box, so to speak. And so I use that broad term of TSP because what we are is we're a guide. We deliver guidance, knowledge, and experience to business owners relative to how IT or how technology integrates and impacts and flows with their actual business and what they need.
Right.
So if you called me today and you're like, hey, I have a 50-person law firm, we're looking to make a change, we're not happy with our provider, which is a call we get. I don't take the approach, well, okay, how many computers and servers and people do you have? I take the approach, and this is where I live in this space. I need to speak with you, Mr. Business Owner, and I need you to just kind of tell me who you are, what your business is, what your goals are, and like, where are you taking this company? Like, how do you treat your clients? Then from there, I can focus on a solution, because every business has some different flavor of what IT solution they need. And it may be that we deliver cloud for you and we do it in our own cloud, or we deliver the managed services for you as a tool, or the antivirus or the cybersecurity or the phone system. Like, we do all that, right? So does everybody else. It's the approach, that high touch, like from the heart, like authentic, like we need to connect with you and understand your business. And if you don't want a provider like that, we're not the ones for you anyway, because we need to be able to sit at that, conference room table with you and have you look at us as, just like you look at your lawyer or your doctor. You got to look at us as somebody that's really, really important in your company, because we are possibly the most important, quote unquote, vendor or partner in your company. And It's what just happened to all of us with COVID was the biggest wake up call for every business. If your technology wasn't where you needed it to be because you weren't looking at technology that way, you couldn't go work from home and you couldn't service your customers effectively.
Right. It's that scenario that nobody ever thought would come. When you talk about like quote unquote doomsday scenario or worst case scenarios, like you talk about this stuff, and I've and I know you guys put yourselves out there before all this happened, like be prepared. It could come, and you don't know how or when.
People to listen to us.
Right. And then here it is. I mean, this is exactly it. It's like, this is the exact scenario. It happened. I mean, it happened. I mean, the only thing left to happen is, I guess, in an asteroid or comet heading right towards Earth. But
go hug your family. Don't worry about your IT. But Chris,
yeah, exactly.
The thing is, so many business owners, and it's not a criticism, it's just a way of thinking that we all came up with over decades. So many business owners just looked at IT as a line item in their budget, and they want to make that the smallest number as possible. And that doesn't line up with growth in your business. So that's what Mindcore is. We're a strategic advisor. That's who we are. And we happen to deliver technology as our primary product. But you have to, as a business owner, realize the importance of technology. And unfortunately, because of the environment that we're in, every business owner was just reminded how important technology was. I'll tell you that 80% of our clients are in the cloud. They're in our cloud. And there's all different flavors of that, but they're in our cloud. And they just went home and they just worked. They didn't call us. They didn't suffer. They didn't worry. Their phones were in the cloud. And they didn't miss a beat. And the thing is, that's the value they deliver to their customers. So in essence, we're enabling these businesses to really deliver value to their customers because they're able to work seamlessly. About 20% of our clients, and we respect them, chose to not really take all of our advice or the best of our advice, and they suffered and they struggled. And some of them are coming to mind right now. And some of them are out for 1-2 weeks down. Law firms couldn't file papers, and they're getting paid by the hour, and they're calling us up like, what do we do? And I would never say, well, we told you 3 years ago, move to the cloud.
Told you so. Yeah.
Never, because I respect people's opinions, right, and their choices. But it took that for them to realize the importance of technology in their business. So that's who we are. We're a technology service provider. We do it through guidance, knowledge, and experience. We give strategic advice, and we try to mentor people, our clients, and we can lead them to water. We can't make them drink. And oftentimes, if we really have somebody who just won't and doesn't see it, we will just kind of nicely say, I don't think we're the company for you, because we can't help you. You don't have the help.
Right, exactly, and I think that's also another, I think, an important point of doing business is being authentic and honest with people, because if it isn't a fit and you really can't help them, then I think that you gotta say, listen, I can't help you, rather than trying to like just do it and then potentially making a situation even worse. So I mean, it seems like everything that we were just discussing here are ways that you guys have found to navigate the waters during these times and make your own pivots and things like that with it. Is there anything else though that you guys have been doing during this time that maybe you didn't have to do before, that you've now discovered? Oh wow, we've got to do this. We've got to offer a new service, and I'm sure the answer is yes, because I'm very hard pressed to find a business that hasn't been affected in a way that made them have to do something a little different, or develop something new that they hadn't been doing before.
That's a great question. So I spend a lot of time in the vision place. I think a lot about where we're going and what's happening. I've always been like that.
Mm-hmm.
This opportunity, I shouldn't use the word opportunity. It's not really, it's a terrible way to look at it. What's going on around us right now,
right?
It's a terrible, terrible situation. As a business owner, though, it did give me the platform to step back. Number one, because everybody got to take a pause.
Right.
The quarantine was a forced pause button. And that when we hit the pause button, it gave me a chance to stop running 1,000 miles an hour, which I've been doing for 20 years, and be like, oh, okay, what are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And not that I even know what's right and what's wrong, but you go with this gut feeling of like what's working, what's not. And so for us, it's always been that workflow and process that I mentioned before. In my business, in the IT services business, process and workflow don't tend to be something that you find common. And I always tell people when we're being interviewed, or if we're interviewing a potential client, I always tell them, whoever you choose, just make sure that their processes and workflows internally are bulletproof, and that their culture is one of process and workflow. And so this time we've stepped back. We're super process driven and super workflow driven, because it's the core, it's the glue that holds together our ability to deliver white glove service. We don't have any products. I didn't invent Amazon, right? We don't have any products that are special. We don't invent things. We don't create new products. We fabricate. We take what already exists and we match it to somebody's needs. So what is it that separates us, that I was able to take a step back and take even to the next level? It's the feeling that our customers get. It's the feeling that people get working with us. And it's that white glove feel, right? So what allows us to do that? It's our own internal processes and workflows. And it's a culture. So we stepped back and we kind of reinvented ourselves, and we looked at everything that we're doing that we could do better, smarter, faster, and more efficiently inside of our own company, within project management discipline, within service delivery day to day, within finance. And in our business, it's not common. I can tell you that it's not common. And I can tell you that most people will say that they focus on it. And I can tell you that it's not true. And I'm saying it's not true because I've dealt with so many other companies like mine, and I've stepped into so many people's businesses who have brought us in to find huge messes. And the biggest pain that we uncover with people in their experience with IT firms is this feeling that things aren't finished, things are left undone. There's no follow-up. If you ever shop at Nordstrom, and I don't want to include or exclude anybody that's watching this, that happens to be a store where, if you ever go into that store, if we ever go in there again, in the past, if you go into Nordstrom's and you buy something, you could buy a pair of socks. They'll put it in a bag. They'll walk around the other side of the counter. They hand it to you. They look you in the eye and they shake your hand and they say, "Thank you for shopping with us." It's a small thing that you wouldn't think makes you feel good, but I'd go back to that store over and over and over because I feel like they care about me. That's what we've done. We've always been that way, but we've taken the opportunity to slow down, make sure we're doing that the right way, and it's real and it's authentic, and that everybody in my company feels that. And because if you don't feel that, you can't work in my company. You have to feel that as a person. And yeah, you have to be a technology professional, but you have to feel like you care about people. So during this time, we step back and we really double down on that. And then more like logistically and operationally, I doubled down on marketing. I mean, I've doubled my marketing spend. This is the time to do that. Social media marketing, advertising. We've doubled down on the most important thing, which is, there's two things here, but they're both equally important. Making sure that my employees all keep their jobs. Okay, so that's been very important to me. And I made a promise to them 6 months ago, and I've been able to keep that promise, that salaries don't change and jobs don't get lost. And I knock on wood, I've been able to keep that promise. And the promise to our customers that we will always treat them like the most important thing in the world. And so we've taken this time to make sure that we haven't gotten off track and lost sight of that. That as a company, that's our differentiator. It does start with me. I believe every small business is an extension of the business owner's personality and the way they feel. And
Right.
You're hearing me, and I hope it's coming through as real, because this is who I am. My company is this. This is who our company is. And we've just made sure during this time that that's still there. And one last thing, I mean, the most obvious thing that we've done is I stepped back and I said, okay, like everybody else, let me double check my expenses aren't too high. Let's cut where we can cut, not people, but, and it's funny. I found
the extra things, there's a little things that you just don't think about till you start looking at it.
I found about 15% that went back down to the bottom line, which is a big number in our business. Because in my business, there are most firms in my business, their bottom line is 15%. That's their net profit is 15%. I found 15% more just by reducing expenses that we just didn't stop and take such a close look at as things built up over the years. Now I've done two acquisitions over the past 2014 and 2016. So was that 6 years? I've done 2 acquisitions, which is where I've got most of my growth from. In that process of doing that, you get bigger and bigger and bigger. I never stopped to actually say, "Oh, let's just stop everything and make sure we're not overspending." And this past 5 months, we've done that, and I was like, "Wow, we found 15% to the bottom line. That's bonuses for people. I've given people raises in the past few months.
It's huge. It's huge. It's huge.
Yeah, and it gave us the revenue we needed. It gave us the extra cash flow. We didn't need it, but it gave us the extra cash flow. I threw it all at marketing. It's all going to marketing so we can reach more people and help more people. I don't feel, as a business owner, that focusing so much attention on that for the past 5 or 6 months, which you could feel this way, and I've thought about it. I don't feel that I've lost any ground,
right?
Because right now the playing field has been leveled. I think everybody's sales have kind of just gotten to a certain level. I think everybody knows that we're waiting for everybody to get more comfortable to really start investing in IT again, and it's starting to happen. Not that there's no sales for anybody, there is, but it's okay to take the time now to stop, regroup, make sure you're doing the right thing. And if you do need to pivot, you have time. You have the rest of this year. Pivot. Go into 2021 doing it the right way. Pivot now, and don't be afraid.
I agree. Okay. I tell people that all the time, and listen, in business, right? We're all taught plan for the future. Plan for the future. Plan. What's your 5-year plan? What's your 2-year plan? What's your 10-year plan? And I'd say right now, as of this second, all that's got to go out the window, and you got to plan for now and tomorrow, and then the next day, and then the next. Like, listen, it's not being pessimistic. I think it's just realistic, because we're in a world right now where things are changing every single day, and anything can happen, and you just got to take it a day at a time. That doesn't mean you can't not set goals, long-term goals, short-term goals, still do all that, but don't worry so much about 2021 at this point. Worry about now, today. What can you do today that'll make tomorrow better, and then the next day, and then keep doing it like that. Don't get too far ahead of yourself. I mean, that's currently in this current situation, because I don't think anybody plans enough for now.
It's okay. You're not missing. You're okay. You're not going to lose out. You're not, as long as your business is at a size, it's large enough that you can do that. And it's the idea, Chris, of like work on your business, not in your business. We all hear that.
Exactly.
Right now is actually a time where it's okay to work on the business, but also to work in the business and make sure everything make sure the bookkeeping is good. Make sure the way you're spending makes sense. Make sure the marketing is good. Make sure that everybody around you in your company that you trust, your CFO, your if you have a chief marketing officer, your operations director, whatever your team leads, make sure that everybody's on track and that things you've put in place over the years haven't fallen off. Because I did find that when I went back into the business.
Yeah.
Found that things that I thought I put in place a couple of years ago, habitually people were like, "Oh, back to old habits," and I didn't even know it.
Yeah,
and we were still doing great,
right? And you know what? And it's fine. It's good to do a little housekeeping, tightening things up, looking at, and like you said, it's okay to work in the business for a little bit now and still work on the business. You can put the 2 hats on.
Set yourself up to come back and work out of the business, work on the business again. But make sure you know your ship is like tight.
Yeah, no, agreed. Couldn't have said it better. So that is awesome advice, and thanks for sharing all that. It's really, really great. Thanks for sharing your story, your background. I think it's going to benefit a lot of people to hear that, and I think a lot of people out there who are listening to this and watching this can certainly identify with everything that you were saying here today. So I always like to ask, because I think it's wonderful, because once again, wherever you're watching this or listening to this, it's all about connecting, right? It's all about relationships and being able to talk to people. So Matt, what's the best way for people to reach out to you directly if they want to speak with you and talk to you?
Yeah, awesome. So the easiest thing to do is just call me. I'm old school. I love to just pick up the phone and talk.
Hit the digits.
What was that?
I said hit the digits.
Yeah, hit the digits. So you can definitely get me. It's 973-664-9500 is our main office number, and I'm at extension 7123. You can email me. It's matt.rosenthal. I'm sure, Chris, you'll put that up on the screen, I guess.
Absolutely. Yep, it'll be on the screen. It'll be in captions. They'll be
so matt.rosenthal@mind-core.com. You can hit me on LinkedIn. We can message back and forth there. I'm on Instagram. That one I don't know offhand, but yeah, I mean, you can hit me all those different ways, and I'd love to speak with anybody that just wants some advice. I love sharing advice and chatting about mistakes, and how we've gotten through them.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing better than just being able to have a conversation with somebody and help them out and talk to them and just be real and authentic with no ulterior motive. It's nice to just have those kinds of conversations with folks.
Chris, we also have the website. Obviously, is
yes, obviously, yep.
Mind-core. It's mind-core.com. If you go on there, I don't know, I have 50 or 60 videos. I'm spending a lot of time putting out content that's just totally informational. There's some really cool content on actually a lot of the things we talked about today. So if you go on there, you'll see the videos page, and it brings you to our YouTube page. So I definitely encourage you to go there. And I'm not sure if you're going to ask me this. I know we have about 2 minutes left, so I'm going to throw it out there. There's something that I love to tell everybody, and it's this: make a decision, right? Some decisions are wins, some decisions aren't wins, some decisions lead you to to fail. Make a decision. Don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. Like, make a decision as a business owner, as a business leader. Make a decision. Don't let fear stop you. It's okay to be afraid, but get the info you need. Get whatever you need to make a decision, and make a decision quickly. And I don't mean like in 2 seconds. Don't deliberate too long. Make a decision and just move it forward. And have a. Some people say, if you listen to Arnold Schwarzenegger, he'll say, don't have a plan B. Right? You don't want a plan B. Just know that if your decision leads you in a certain direction, that it's not going to crush you. Okay. I mean, hedge it. You just kind of know what your decisions risks are, but make a decision and don't be afraid to. And now is a great time to make decisions.
I want to say thank you, Matt, so much for coming on today, speaking with me and sharing all this wonderful information about yourself and Mindcore Technologies. And I urge everybody out there who's watching this and listening to this to please connect with Matt, check out Mindcore Technologies, and connect with him and talk to him. As you can see, he loves sharing advice and talking to people, and so go right ahead and reach out to him, because that's what it's all about at the end of the day: developing relationships, increasing your network, and chatting with like-minded people. So thank you guys all once again for watching and listening to the My LinkedIn Friends show. Thanks again, Matt, for coming on, and we will see you guys next time.
Thanks for having me.